Oh, we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Run Your Mouth podcast. We're here just testing out the functionality of sloped roofs. It's big news. You can't always trust a sloped roof. You might fall off them. And so, we're testing them out. We're making sure that the roofs work okay. Listen, everybody, this is, I have no reason why this article is up right now. I am excited. Sometimes, no matter what, I come to you guys, I go live, and I bring you the news. I let you know what's going on in the world. And sometimes you got to read Supreme Court documents. Sometimes you got to watch congressional hearings. Sometimes there's things that's going on that's a little bit like doing your homework. It's like eating your salad without the dressing. It's like eating a dry, unlubed salad, but you want to stay informed. You want to know what's going on. Information for you, and I'd like to thank the overlords for making it extremely exciting once again. You could not care about politics at all. And just last week, you watched a president dodge a bullet on live television, and then a president maybe being dead, and then not being dead, and then AI clips coming out, and then watching him on actually walk up. You don't even know what version of Biden's out there. This version of Biden's pretty good at stairs. You would think COVID Biden would have more of an issue with the stairs, but not this version of Biden, who's apparently still alive. Anyways, what I really want to thank our overlords for is for Kamala Harris, because could there have been a better gift? Could there have been a better gift than this lady who talks at a fourth grade reading comprehension level? I'm watching people because, there are people in my life that I've been telling them for a long time, hey, listen, Joe Biden's got dementia. And they're like, he doesn't have dementia. I'm like, you're going to see it. I'm talking about my dad, the coffee shop liberals. I've been telling them what's all this information, and they're starting to realize, this guy, he actually knows something. And so they're asking me, well, what do you think of Kamala? I'm like, they picked the only person dumber than Joe Biden. I got to work on my Kamala impression, but it's always, we're going to have a lot of these. Well, at this moment in time is different than every other moment in time, because while we're here and we're live, that means that it's actually happening while it's happening, which is different than when things aren't live, which means you're watching it even though it's not happening right now. You know what Joe Biden should do in retirement? He should do old Uncle Joe's, and they should be the most potent marijuana gummies on the market that you can take, and then you can be on Kamala Harris's level. If you want to be able to comprehend and groove with Kamala Harris and go, oh, wow, she's explaining to me the tires, they go on the bottom of the car, which is different than when you're in the body of the car, because the tire is the support. And they go around in a circle. That's the way that they move forward, the way the country's going to move forward. Are you guys excited for the fourth rate? Who knows? Maybe so many people turned retarded from the vaccines, she's actually going to groove with our nation. All I want to say is, as a person who's going to do a show no matter what, thank you for making the news incredibly interesting once again, and for rolling out Kamala Harris, which should be a joy, except I got some political analysis coming your way that perhaps we've been duped by Kamala Harris this entire time. Perhaps she's actually savvier and smarter than we ever realized. Sure, there were all sorts of people just claiming that she blew her way to the top, that she was walking around going, who here needs a quickie, taking all sorts of loads in the mouth until she climbed the ranks all the way up to Joe Biden, and she was the only person who could actually get some juice out of those pipings. Everybody else, and she's like, I know how to get this job done, and so she stepped in there. And anyways, listen, we got real political analysis here. Are we actually going to just go on some tirade about how Kamala Harris sucked her way all the way to the top, and that she was the only person who could successfully suck off Joe Biden, and that's why she got the VP role? And you would think that some of those other dudes who were jockeying for the position, they had their man hands and their man grips, and you would think that they would have been able to get the job done, but no, truly, only Kamala Harris was the one to do it. All right, so listen, before we do a whole breakdown of everything that's been going on, Joe Biden coming back from the dead, making ghost phone calls through AI. Isn't this interesting? It's almost like in Futurama, the way that they had presidents' heads inside of the glass bowls, and so Nixon's still around and everyone's still around. With AI, we can just have these people forever. You get their speechwriters, you get their deep states, you keep them in their basements, and these people can keep going forever. It's like their soulless souls will live on. Anyways, Joe Biden's supposed to actually address the country tonight after they cooed him. They took him down with tweets. You got Donald Trump dodging bullets on live television, and then you've got Joe Biden being taken down by tweets, by people getting into his Twitter and just say, yep, doggy, I'm out. And then that's it. Him going, wait, I tweeted that. I sent that out. I'm a little disappointed that that's the end of Joe Biden. But listen, guys, everybody, before we get into the political analysis, I do have some complaints from hotel rooms on the road, and that's important too. These are also issues that we have to fix in the country. You know, inflation's going to keep coming at us. I just threw a used Zemo into my fresh Zemos, which is disgusting. And I promise you that when I go back in for a fresh Zemo, I will end up taking the used one. You know how often I got a collection of seltzers on this desk? I'll just show it. Look at this. Look at this trash pan. Sorry if I blew the illusion of actually being on this rooftop. But everything's an illusion now. We've got dead presidents talking from the grave. So I can't tell you how often it happens to me on the live stream where I think I'm picking up the fresh seltzer and I'm actually drinking from the... I shouldn't share this information. I'm trying to manifest girlfriends into my life. Why am I talking about my cans of empty seltzer that I'm constantly accidentally drinking from and then just powering through the show as if I didn't just drink a seltzer that has an old Zin in it? This is a very clean rooftop, everybody. The rooftop that I do this show from, I had it cleaned, and then you know what else I did? I had the Secret Service make it all sticky so that I wouldn't fall off the sloped roofs, because you got to be careful. Guys, if you're near slopes these days, remember that the nation's best sharpshooters are not comfortable on sloped roofs, so make sure to be careful. All right, anyways, I do have some complaints from hotel rooms. Firstly, I'm liking the attention that part of the problem's getting because we're getting more feisty comments, not just on my show, but on his show. And I like feisty YouTube comments, and someone was very mad at me for my comments about the Holiday Inn Express. And firstly, random person. And yes, that we'll devolve into that. We will devolve into petty arguments with people that just post comments on the show. You think, hey, listen, I understand how exciting the news is right now and why there's no reason to ADD about one person's random comments. But listen, guy who likes Best Westerns, the fact that you were on the road 5 years ago, have you never seen a single business deteriorate over 5 years, or that inflation has changed something over 5 years? That something that was reasonable is not as good and the price is less reasonable? Yeah, sure, 5 years ago when you were on the road, maybe the Holiday Inn Expresses were glamorous operations. But when was the last time you were inside one of them? But at the same time, while I'm feisty and fighting with this one random individual who decided to make a comment on the show, questioning my expertise of hotel rooms, I'm in 3-4 hotel rooms every weekend. You think you know better than me? I was actually in a very nice Holiday Inn Express this past weekend in Pennsylvania. And, there's disparity between them, which is part of what I was saying is that these brands, specifically Hilton, are doing a bad job with their brand names and that they've got some terrible hotels out there. Anyways, Holiday Inn Expresses, like I said, they're fully functional, and that's not what the show is going to be about. But I do have a complaint with hotel rooms in general. You go into your hotel room and you got to spend the first 10 minutes while you're in there just trying to turn on the light bulbs. They don't want you to figure out what kind of stains are in this room. They want to make it difficult for you to OCD check that mattress and make sure there isn't bugs. You basically got to show up to a hotel room with your own Indiana Jones blowtorch type thing, walk around and figure out how to turn on all the light bulbs. But then for some reason, when you wake up at 3 a.m, to take a piss and you go into the bathroom and you turn on that light bulb, it is an interrogation lamp. You're just trying to be half asleep, pee into the actual toilet and go back to bed, and there's no lights in the entire room. But for some reason, when you turn on the bathroom light, you're now blinded and being interrogated and thinking, oh, well, now I'm not going back to sleep. I just had the rays of sun directly into my eyes. All right, I got an additional complaint about hotel rooms. You know, it used to be you were in a hotel and you got one shitty piece of soap. And if you were sharing that hotel room with other dudes, you were aware of the fact it was you never had this conversation with people, but at some point you're going to shower and you're like, you couldn't take your pubes off this thing, and they'll pretend like it was their leg hairs. And then we all pretend, I guess germs don't grow on soap, but then you got the same bar of soap that's supposed to be the soap that everyone's washing their hands with after they take dumps. And that's also the thing that you got to shower with. And all this shit's this on my mind. I'm a germaphobe. You try and turn the other way and go, hey, listen, I'm not cracking off the piece of soap that was the piece of soap that the other guy used after he took a dump and washed his. And then, by the way, if you're sharing a piece of soap, who's putting that soap directly on their body. There's no excuse for leaving that shower with undisclosed hairs on it. Was it a pube? Was it a leg hair? I don't want to be wondering these kind of questions, and I don't want to be yelling at the other guy, hey, do you mind washing the soap before I use the soap? Wash the soap, everybody. If you're sharing a hotel room with other people, wash the soap. So you know what hotels did? They realized, let's step up our game. You know what would be better? To have the things in the actual shower so that you could just pump them. You get all the soap you need. No one's got to call down for additional soaps. You don't have to find a bar of soap. You don't have to share the bar of soap. It's a more sanitary situation. You can have all the soap you want when you're in a shower. On paper, it was a better system. But I'm here to tell you, no one's expecting those soaps. You know how often you get into the shower, you're totally naked, you're down to your last hotel room towel, and you get yourself wet, and then you realize that there's no soap in the soap thing, and now you got to get out of the shower, half use the towel that you want to dry off in. Now you got to dirty and wet in what was your... I'm going to start calling down to the front desk from the shower and be like, can you have someone bring up some soap? You left the soap thing empty. It was a good idea. Listen, I give these hotel credits for figuring out what can we do to improve the soap situation in these bathrooms. But instead of and it was a noble idea going with the soap dispenser. But maybe you get other people who are way too excited for the soap, and they're just in there and they're just like using all the soap, and so these people don't realize how often they got to refill them. But I would say 40% of the time I'm in a hotel room, you're like, finally, I get a chance to take a shower, and you get into that shower and you realize that there's no soap in the soap dispenser. So, listen, when are candidates going to start addressing these simple common man issues that all of us have to go through when you're buying overpriced hotel rooms? All right, one last observation for being out on the road. I'm all over the place, and, sometimes you're in hotels and you get these kind-hearted people from the South with their Southern hospitality. And maybe the people from New York, maybe we're all the dickheads where like you can adjust to it. But sometimes you're like, we don't need this. We can both just pass each other, not say a word to each other, and go about our day. We're all in a war together against the hotels who won't give us soap. We don't need to have this moment. We don't need to have the chit chat. Listen, I'll do it. I'm a nice person. So if you want to be friendly, I feel the obligation to be friendly back, but I'm just saying I prefer being in the Northeast where everyone's like, you don't look at me, I won't look at you. I feel like that's the better system. All right, guys, that's all the shenanigans that I had to start the show. Brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo, and the only organization that will, other than Cheat, that will really support content about how Kamala Harris sucked her way to the top. All right, let's take some live comments, and then let's actually get into the show. We've got John Poppett coming through. Always pre-check the soap dispensers. Rookie mistake, Robbie. I agree with you. It's one of those things that you listen, in the checklist of things that I got to go through on a daily basis, phone, keys, wallet. You know what I mean? You always got to, maybe that's a new thing I got to check. Before you get into the shower, you got to check the little soap dispenser. Or maybe I'll start going down to the lobby in towels and being like, hey guys, you got some soap? Maybe I'll do the thing like as if I needed shampoo for my hair. I'll get all the shampoo up there and I'll go down to the lobby. That's that's high school me. I'm not that person anymore. But when I was in high school, all day, DWH, the deficit, the big red deficit. I think what you're trying to say is that that's something that should actually be addressed in this campaign, and I don't think there's anyone going to be on the, hey, there's too much deficit side, but I agree with you. Alan Thickdick, fuck yeah, let's go, Robbie. You see, that's the energy I like from the people in the chat. Aaron, my Q mom thought Joe Biden was guy wearing a mask. Sounds less crazy now. I don't know what that did. Dildo Faggins, great name. I turn Rogan off for you. I'll bet I'll get better entertainment here. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And we'll take one more, and then we're moving on. You ever notice when you're taking a shower at a motel and there's no soap in the dispenser? I think that's what I was saying. I think you're reinforcing my point, maybe putting a little bit more of a Jerry Seinfeld spin on it. Juan Qualo Espinoza. Biden's press conference is after his bedtime. Brace yourself, folks. That's a good one. I had a hard time reading your name, but that's a good one. I'll give you credit for that one. All right, first we've got Bernie Sanders shares what it will take to endorse Kamala. She has to stop laughing like such a retarded person. If she gets up there and she actually says that she'll give more free stuff to the people that need it and stops laughing like such a retard, she can have my support. And so here we've got Joe Biden back from the dead. We were pretty certain COVID took him down, or the deep state. He's not as good as dodging bullets, and all they had to do was to put extra sleeping pills in his ice cream. But here he is. We figured he was dead after the creepy AI phone calls that we're playing in a minute. After an entire... By the way, information's almost moving too quick now. I was talking about you're going live, but you gotta go live every 40 seconds now so that you can be in on the stories of Joe Biden's dead, to look at him. And here we go. This is him arriving in DC, apparently alive, still not addressing anybody, still pulling that move where they ask him questions over the airplane engines. It's almost like the pilots know, like, hey, listen, blast the engines extra loud so that he doesn't have to answer any questions. But here he is, laughing, being masked Biden number 4, which is, I first heard that from the Timeline Earth people. So I don't know which version of Biden they were able to pull back up from the grave in between the AI phone calls, but here he is. And don't worry, how come Donald Trump doesn't get the good-looking Secret Service agents? Look at this lady. I mean, talk about making sure that the president's safe. They put the fat pigs on Donald Trump. Maybe they knew that Donald Trump wouldn't be as classy around women like this, or maybe that's the only way that they can get Joe Biden to actually show up and get into a car. You think that lady's good at security? All right, moving forward, let's get into what's going on with Kamala. So first is the handsome man gave the endorsement. Listen, it used to be it's not over till the fat lady sings. You don't actually get to be anything in Hollywood or Washington until you get George Clooney's endorsement. As we go into an election season where the deep state is apparently more powerful than ever, trying to take out Donald Trump, we're trying to walk ourselves out of these wars, we're trying to take care of that deficit, and we start having serious political conversations about what we need to do to fix the country. Just know that George Clooney, the handsome man, has given his endorsement to Kamala Harris. You know who else gave the endorsement to Kamala Harris? We've got more. This one's surprising. We've got Nancy Pelosi comes forward. She gives the endorsement. You even got Hillary Clinton coming forward, giving the endorsement and going, hey, the reason why people are giving Kamala Harris such a hard time is because she's a lady. And whenever you're a lady, everyone's going to give you a hard time. It's not the way that she laughs. It's not how awkward. This is Hillary Clinton's perspective. Take it from me. A highly likable, highly intelligent individual who could have done a great job for the country, but everyone disliked me because I was a lady. It's nice when you got some sort of a minority status where you can have absolutely zero perspective about the fact that, no, it's just you. It's actually personal. We just don't like you. It's got nothing to do with the category of person that you are in. You can put yourself into any deplorable group that you want to and go, it's because of this group that I'm a part of. And in this case, Hillary Clinton wants to condemn all women across the entire planet, that they must go through what she goes through because it has nothing to do with her unlikability. It has everything to do with the fact that the world is apparently run by men who just don't like women. And it's the same thing for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is as good as anybody else, any politician that's ever existed. And if you hear any negative talk about her, it's because she's a lady and the world just doesn't like women. But it's surprising. We thought Hillary Clinton, this might be her moment to go, hey, listen, I think I can put together one last campaign. But she gets the Hillary Clinton endorsement. Then we get her boss mode going, listen, I'm going to select one of these VPs. And then we find out, which I'll play in a minute, that she's raised more money than anybody ever. And is she secretly a genius? This whole time, has she been sitting on the sidelines, laughing hysterically, over-explaining buses, and actually being a good deep state representative? Is that what's going on here? Have we been played? Have I been played for the last 4 years thinking that this is the dumbest person in all of politics? The worst diversity hire that's ever happened? The showcasing of a bad life philosophy that the Democrats were like, we have to support women of color. And instead of actually finding credentialed people, you get stuck with Kamala Harris, which, if anything, doesn't reflect well on trying to go find people, women of color. It starts making the entire group of people looking bad. And now she seemingly takes out Joe Biden, successfully runs the coup, wins over Chief Handsome George Clooney. That's the most important endorsement you needed if you were going to make serious policy decisions. Wins the Hillary Clinton endorsement, and then somehow gets all the donors to open up their pockets and the news to lie and pretend like there was $100 million coming in from individual voters because she has unified the party. Now everyone's excited. They realize with Joe Biden out of the way, we finally got a candidate who can win this thing, and everyone's super excited for the person that I think polled at less than 1% the last time. Is this what we're supposed to... Behind the scenes, has Kamala Harris actually been a secret genius, playing a dummy the entire time, and no one's ever been more qualified? Here, let's give this a listen. $100 million raised, apparently in the first 24 hours, and according to the New York Times, it wasn't just the big donors opening up their pocketbooks. What was offered to this donor class that everyone finally got on board with Kamala Harris? And... still out there. Where's the Obama endorsement? Let's give this a listen.
Since Sunday, more than $100 million AMH has been raised. That's quite a haul.
And 60% of these, it's their first time donation into the 2024 cycle. I think that's what's interesting. People are feeling a little bit of excitement that she's going out to. But donors, obviously, the past month, Jonathan, to your point, they pretty much just evaporated. Because why? No one knew if they were going to be donating to a campaign to nowhere. There's lots of calls for the president to step aside and not seek re-election. So she has this revamp, this restart. A lot of questions remain. She's going to get the nomination. It all looks but likely. They're going to likely bring...
Since Sunday, more than
There you go. $100 million raised. And then I like this because the news, they're trying to sell us just on how great Kamala Harris is. And who knows, maybe you and I have been suckered watching her talk about space, watching her talk about buses, watching her not fix borders, watching her talk to us like a third grader who didn't quite read the book, who's showing up to class and trying to fumble his way as if he had done his homework when he didn't do his homework. Well, the book, it has a cover, and on the book cover, there's pictures. And pictures can grab you because sometimes a picture can tell you what a book's what a book is actually about. And I know other people tell you not to judge a book by its cover. Ha 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 ha. Right? That's what they say. Don't judge a book by its cover. Ha 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 ha. But this cover, it tells you something about the book. All right. Anyways, so this was CNN the day that they finally announced that Kamala Harris was running. And I feel like this was being on an improv troupe where behind the scenes, they're trying to test everybody's lying skills. To me, this didn't actually go out on TV. This was an exercise that happened behind closed doors where they told the panel of people, hey, listen, we're trying to sell Kamala Harris. Give me your best. Give me your best. Hey, Kamala Harris is actually a good idea. And the way that these people can lie is pretty incredible because once they get their marching orders of, hey, here's the game we're playing, here's the lie that you have to tell that this person's not the dumbest person who works in all of politics. Let's hear what they have to say, particularly this lady in the blue shirt, because it's remarkable, these people's ability to sell and lie.
All right, Van, this thing is over. It is over.
She whooped everybody. It's unbelievable. People were worried about a coronation. It was not a coronation. It was a culmination of really hard work, mostly by black women behind the scenes, who figured out this thing was gonna be a loose ball, and this party could not devolve into chaos. And women like Donna Brazile, Karen Finney, Joteka Edie, and on and on and on, decided they were going to make sure that this ball wound up in capable hands, and they did. And it is going to go down in history as one of the most effective political operations in American history. Literally 36 hours, the most money ever raised, the nomination showed up, and nobody even raised a pinky. They didn't raise not a pinky. It was like, they didn't want none of this. They didn't want none.
I mean, you're talking about how successful of an operator Kamala Harris is. Look at how much staff she had to overturn over the last couple of years. And now they're up here, they're selling it. The proof is in the fact that she was able to raise this $100 million without even raising a phone call. Look at the natural excitement. We've got the greatest campaign in history right before us. Let's continue.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what is interesting to me is that I think people were worried that this would be like out of fear. Oh, you can't not back her. But that's not actually what we saw happen. There was actual excitement. I really honestly, Democrats in my
Actual excitement. I guess that's why they ran a Democratic Party that Kennedy could compete in, and we could put a number to how many people were actually interested in Kamala Harris. Because last time she was less than 1%, and in the polls, I don't think she's doing exceptionally better than Joe Biden. But apparently, there was natural, organic excitement for this lady who only got it because the other guys got dementia and stepped out too late for anyone to compete for the position. Natural, organic excitement.
view as a reporter, I've been covering Democrats for a long time. I have never seen this kind of energy since Barack Obama back in
You
08.
can honestly feel the energy. I have never seen politics work this well and this swiftly, because after even just locking up the support and making sure there's no competition there, that they were lining up behind her, the rollout in the last 24 hours, they've got logos, they've got a message, they've got an energized team. They're already taking over the Biden infrastructure. I mean, this is a very real race. Trump world right now is very nervous because this is not who they plan to run against. And there's an energy that I don't think anyone has felt since, you didn't feel in 2020. 2020 was a referendum pandemic kind of race.
I've taken a couple improv classes in my day, and that's what this feels like. Hey, here's the lie. Who wants to audition for the deep state as being the best at running with this lie? And so they get to sit around in a circle, and they pass it around amongst each other for each one to go, I'll go even bigger than the last person. John Popik coming through with an excellent point. Kamala's socialist policies make Stalin look like a conservative. And on that note, as the base is just voting against Donald Trump, I wonder how she possibly puts together a winning presidency when she goes fully socialist. Firstly, I'm a little the Netanyahu thing. Listen, I wouldn't show up for it, but I guess it's almost like she's auditioning in the primaries with how extreme left and socialist her positions are, that you would think that once you're past the primary process, where liberals almost have a problem of having to go ultra PC liberal in order to win the nomination. You jump past that process. You got the nomination. Now you got to pretend like you're more middle of the road so that you can pick up the independent voters and these moms and pops who are worried about inflation. But I think it's a good point by John Popik, that she seems to be overly socialist, particularly to start off a campaign. Maddie, what's up, Maddie? The most money ever raised and the most votes in the history of elections. BillTube, hating a man for any reason is okay, but hating a woman for any reason just means you hate all women. That's the way I see it. Dildo Faggins, voting for Kamala after Biden is like changing your shit after you shit your pants into a diaper that has even more shit in it. I'm going to add that to your comment. I'm going to make your comment better. All right, what do we got next? I went backwards. $100 million raised. We already talked about that one. We already watched the improv troupe. And now we've got Kamala Harris giving her first election speech. We're going to move backwards. We're going to watch her first election speech, and then we're going to watch the fake Joe Biden AI phone calls. But this was interesting because it was not as much of a train wreck as I would have expected. As I've said, I've watched Kamala Harris awkwardly laugh, be unable to explain herself, overly explain minutia about the moments in time that we're in, and just dribble on and over explain like OCD thoughts of it's like if you met the most boring person you've ever met who decided to explain to you something that doesn't even need to. When you shake a hand, you hold the other person's hand, and both person goes up and down at the same time, and it's a symbolic gesture that as you hold their hand and they hold your hand, that you have a desire to make a connection. That's typically the way Kamala Harris operates, where you're like, why is this minutia being explained to me? Is this what you're thinking about in your head? Is this shit actually important, or something that's so incredible to you that you feel it's almost like when you're on drugs, you're like, oh, is that my hand? That's the way she normally is. But it seems like they figured out how to present Kamala Harris, which is you get a paid group of actors to show up in that crowd and really cheer and really do it up and fill in all the awkward pauses. And I don't know, maybe they're going to hire whoever this crowd was for every single thing that she goes to. They found the perfect TV audience and they said, listen, Indian lady, you're out here and you're pretending like you're black. So if you could do like a black preacher thing, we will get an audience to fill in the blanks audience. There were two moments where, she catches a role. She goes full black preacher on us. The audience fills it in with energy. And listen, I guess from hey, we're going from the dead old guy to a more energetic campaign, this was good television. I don't think that it was as bad as I would have expected. In my head, we're like 11 speeches away from Kamala Harris also needing to be replaced because people realize, wait, does this 40 or whatever aged woman have dementia also? But in terms of a first speech on being graded on the Kamala Harris curve, not as bad as I would have expected. It seems like they figured out how to, the same way they were able to put the teleprompter up for Biden and tell him, just read that and read the notes. I guess what they're doing to present Kamala Harris is getting overly energetic and enthusiastic crowds to fill in the gaps and having her speak like a black preacher. Let's give it a listen.
Action. Yes, we will. So as Leah told you, before I was elected vice president, before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before them. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
Amen.
Predators who abused women.
Say it, girl.
Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
They had leftover Joe Biden drugs, and they gave it to a full crowd. They had a hype man guy right up front with big cue cards giving them the notes of how they were supposed to react. Let's continue.
And in this campaign, I promise you, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week. As Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges that was scamming students. Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students. As a prosecutor, I specialized in cases involving section.
I think I'm going to rewind a little bit. It's like they got the old Jerry Springer producers out there. And I don't know, maybe they'll be able to keep this enthusiasm and audience going for all of her rallies. But I'm so excited to see Kamala in the race. And my expectation is that we'll see more of the awkwardness start to come to light. And so here, this was the first speech she gave when I think this is when they first played AI Joe Biden. Let's give it a watch.
Believe in the promise of America. Yeah. And are we willing to fight for it? Yeah. And when we fight.
Who is that group of 25 people that they hired to just fill in every awkward blank? It's like they trained her. Just don't laugh and smile. We've got these 40 kindergarteners who talk at your level, and they'll fill it in.
Harris at campaign headquarters one day after President Biden dropped out of the race.
Oh, that's not AI
and
Joe
threw his
Biden.
support behind her. The president's calling in while recovering from COVID-19 at his Delaware home.
You've always had my back, and I promise you, I will always have your back.
The first Black and Indian American.
Joe, are you watching? You hear this clapping? Can you see it?
There's the awkward laugh.
I'm watching. I'm watching.
I knew it.
So funny. It's amazing. Even Joe Biden from the dead can see me. Why do I keep jumping back? All right, and then here's another one of the AI recordings.
Every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me, to Kamala, and I want you to know, I won't be on the ticket, but I'm still going to be fully engaged.
Harris then taking the mic. Biden.
Every bit of your heart and soul.
All right, it's enough of the Kamala Harris talk. I'm excited to have Kamala Harris in the race. I was concerned that we might get stuck with Hillary Clinton. I'm excited to see who she picks for vice president, and I'm excited for what should be the biggest train wreck since they had to keep Joe Biden in a basement. I don't know what they're going to do to try and keep Kamala Harris away from camera screens. And maybe this is their trick. Maybe they've hired the perfect 40 people to always be right on the backside of the camera. And who knows, maybe at some point we'll actually get to see that there's just stadiums of emptiness and then the 40 people right in front of her who are the hired help. I'd be curious to know who the producers are on this production, but at least thus far they're doing an okay job. All right, before we move on, let's take a moment to thank Sheath.com. Everybody, use promo code RYM. You get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. And let me tell you, I appreciate when I show up to the porch and people are like, yo, check out my sheets. Yo, you wearing your sheets? It's the official uniform of the Run Your Mouth podcast and Summer Porch Tour. So if you're going to become hanging out with us on the porch, you know, make sure you got your sheathunderwear.com's the official underwear of the Run Your Mouth podcast. Keeps everything cool, calm, separated. Gets you nice and slick in between the legs so you can move around without having to worry about falling off of sloped roofs. That's what the Secret Service needs. If the Secret Service had the confidence of sheathunderwear.com, knowing everything that was protected, like it wasn't going to bunched up, you didn't have to fix your wedgies, even they could handle sloped roofs. Look at how agile I am on this sloped roof. The dexterity I have walking backwards and forwards without any concerns of falling over. And it's only because of sheathunderwear.com. Use promo code RYM. You get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. All right, so obviously, amidst all this other chaos and nonsense, we still have them digging into what happened with Donald Trump that seemingly this giant nerd was able to climb onto the roof, was able to be spotted by multiple individuals who weren't even the security team, and then it later turned out it was the cops, and nobody did nothing. Everybody's pointing at the other guy. He did it. I don't know. The slope roofs. It was outside of the allowable range. We made the right decision when we ignored the fact that there was a guy up there with a gun. It was the right decision when we made that decision. It just turned out to be the wrong decision after he took shots. Anyways, this is from The Hill. Johnson Jeffries announced task force to investigate Trump assassination attempt. It's the right group of characters. It's an exciting story, but it's the same group of people that never proved any Biden crimes over the last couple of years. So, you know, it's easy to get excited for investigations. It's a lot different to actually see anything come of them. With that said, and I did say this on the last part of the problem, I think there's so much footage online, and this one is so transparently bullshit, it's on the level of Epstein killed himself, that I do think that there's going to be more of a call to actually find out what happened. With that said, we're going to play a clip from Donald Trump where, you know, he even says, listen, sometimes we have to delay things because of weather. If there was a suspicious person, you could have just told me, hey, we're waiting 15 minutes. Or when he was literally spotted on the roof by a cop, what the hell happened that he was just allowed to remain on the roof? All of these are interesting questions, but even here, he seems a little bit tempered to not go, hey, the deep state tried to kill me, and we are going to investigate it, and we're going to go after them. Now, maybe it's because he's trying to take the temperature and not have them take down the temperature and not have them shoot at him again. But with that said, in terms of, hey, we're going to investigate and we're going to get the bottom of that, it seems like they're more interested in moving forward. But here we can listen to a little bit of this from Trump himself, who actually gave the most succinct take on why the incident makes no sense.
Nothing. That's a big factor. Who was he? And why did he do that? Why didn't we know about that? Because I would have, oftentimes, based on weather and based on other things, I'd say, sir, would you wait 10 minutes before you go out, please? We never had a case like this. But certainly if they said, would you wait 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes because we have a possible problem, unlikely but possible, I wish somebody would have done that because Corey would be alive and 2 people that were seriously hurt would not be hurt. And we wouldn't have had all of the things that we've gone through over the last period of time.
And, sir, I think it illustrates something that's so different about the Trump administration versus the Biden administration. Is, look, screw-ups sometimes happen, even very big screw-ups. But it's the responsibility of leaders to stand before the country and say, all right, we screwed up. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to answer questions and do it in public. I think the fact that there's been no transparency here is what makes a lot of us say, well, what the hell happened, and why, are we actually taking steps to ensure it doesn't happen again?
If you're elected, you can declassify.
Let's just start there. They're already framing it like, yeah, it was a screw up, not, hey, they tried to kill me. But let's continue.
The assassination attempt files. You could clear things up like that. You'll do that, right?
I would, yeah, sure. There should be nothing to hide here.
It's his decision.
I think, frankly, but I think, frankly, many things are known right now. But some of the things that are known are bad. How did somebody get on that roof, and why wasn't he reported? Because people saw that he was on the roof. I mean, you had Trumpers screaming. The woman in the red shirt. She was screaming, "There's a man on the roof." And then other people said, "There's a man on the roof who's got a gun." And that was quite a bit before I walked onto the stage. So you would have thought somebody would have done something about it.
The Secret Service director won't say if Crooks was alone.
Would be more exciting if he said, hey, I told you the deep state's been trying to kill me. They tried to take me out by saying I was a Russian asset. They tried with all these fake court cases. They tried with the January 6th nonsense. Now they had to resort to actually trying to kill me. It'd be more fun. It'd be more interesting. But I guess there's a game to be played here. The guy wants to get into office, and who knows? Maybe once he's there, he'll do it. My guess is not. All right, and now Donald Trump, I got to give him credit, though. He's made a bit of a comeback. I was giving him shit at the RNC that he seemed to be up there just going, please don't shoot me again. I'm willing to be nice now. I'll hire J.D. Vance. I'll support your wars. What do you guys need from me? I'm willing to do it. But then I was watching, and I think this is just a random clip, but he was back up there, full mojo, outdoors, back again, giving a speech, being funny.
Right.
So respect him for getting back out there and doing Trump.
No, but things like that are mentioned during a campaign, little things like that. No, she's done a terrible job, but I'd be very happy with her. At this very moment, Democrat Party bosses are frantically trying to overthrow the results of their own party's primaries to dump crooked Joe Biden from the ballot. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And as you're seeing, the Democrat Party is not the party of democracy. They're really the enemies of democracy. The parties of corrupt insiders like Whitmer, special interests, and the failed political class. That's what they are. Under our leadership, the Republican Party.
All right, and then I want to play this clip specifically because I've spoken out against the tariffs that it seems like Donald Trump is looking to put in. And I don't know that I've explored enough what at least they try and claim is that it's actually a negotiation tactic because it works well against other countries to get concessions. And he's not actually looking to basically cause additional price inflation by driving up all the price in goods by making imports more expensive, as much as he's trying to force concessions from other governments, and him claiming that he's had success with that. So in order to, actually give credence to the idea, to explore that perhaps that is the strategy and it is a working strategy, here is Donald Trump talking about how much success he's had in bullying other countries by threatening tariffs and why it's been a successful strategy. Let's give it a listen.
I proudly imposed a 27.5 tariff on all Chinese auto imports to keep China and Chinese cars, keep them out of America. You don't sell a lot of Chinese cars in here because of what, and if you did, it'd be fewer cars that you made. We're going to bring back the auto industry we're going to bring it back. We're going to have them. If they want to come in and sell us cars, they can, but they have to build plants here and they have to hire our workers, and that's fine, and nobody can say anything about it. Under the radical Democrat policies, the U.S. auto industry is being decimated. We lost 64% of our industry over the years, 64%. We were a giant, and now a lot of them made in Mexico. Mexico's taken 35% of the auto industry. And
I might have started this a little bit too early. It's interesting stuff, but he's got a good story about about that Mexico wouldn't even meet with him, and then they were complaining, and then also bitching out Macron. And bitching out Macron or Trudeau is always a good story. Let's see if it starts soon. If not, we're going to move on.
And we did something very strong. We did something very strong with Mexico. But, when I was building the wall, I said, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers. and they laughed at me. I hate when people laugh at me. I hate it. I hate it. No, it's so disrespectful. They laughed at me. We won't do that. Why would we do that? I said, because you have to. We're building the wall. People are flowing in through your country. We want 28,000 soldiers to protect us while we're building the wall. They said, no, no, no. And then they said, after I said, look, here's the story. If you don't do it, we're going to charge you a 25% tariff on every car that you send into America. And then it's going to 50% next month. Then it's going to 75%. And then it's going to 100%, and then I'll stop. And the gentleman representing the president's a great guy. He's no longer president, but he's a great guy. He was a great guy, still is. But he said, I'd like to discuss this with the president. I said, 5 minutes, I got to go. I have something much more important to do. And he came back. He said, Mr. President, we would love to give you soldiers to protect your wall, free of charge, of course. That's how I got those great numbers on that beautiful, beautiful graph that we talk about. They gave us everything I wanted. I got everything from Mexico. And then this stupid person, low IQ, he's a low IQ individual. Take his IQ. I guarantee you it's in the low 50s or 60s. And he's negotiating against Putin, President Xi of China.
All right, we'll call it there. But as I've been trashing the tariff strategy, and I'm still not sure that it's great or that it works, at least that's a fun story of a victory, and at least there's some thought there. This was reported by Zero Hedge. More agency weaponization. Secret Service tells Trump to stop having outdoor rallies. So this is interesting. And that, you know, I guess if it's socialized, that government is supposed to provide security for the president. And then the president is so popular that he does these giant, spectacular outdoor rallies, and lots of people show up, and they'd be a lot more expensive if you had to rent indoor spaces. It's interesting for them to now show up after their own failure and go, we cannot protect you at outdoor events, which obviously, in some extent, that's the government getting involved in the political process and saying that you cannot do these giant, grand outdoor rallies, which obviously can boost your popularity in that, one, it makes it more available for people to actually show up, feel the thrill of seeing Donald Trump perform live in a big, spectacular environment. It can also showcase the fact that Kamala Harris can barely fill a gymnasium, and that it's probably not these black female working voters that they keep trying to pretend is the supporting base that came up with the $100 million. Hey, the poor people that really need our help somehow individually donated so much money that she turned around $100 million in 24 hours. But those people need more of our help than ever before. And that's why we need more socialized government practices to prop up the exact individuals that were able to come up with the largest ever political donations in just 24 hours. But here you have it. Now they're telling them, listen, no more outdoor rallies. We can't make sure that you're safe at the outdoor rallies, which, you know, I guess in Donald Trump's case, he's a billionaire. He's got his private jet. I would assume, typically speaking, in presidential races, if you're the president, you must have the upper hand with the fact that Air Force One is paid by the taxpayers. And so the campaign costs of flying everywhere privately is like, that's got to be one of, or I'm not saying, I guess the biggest campaign expense is probably just what people do with advertising and marketing dollars. But being able to move your people across the country on a government-funded private jet, which I assume, I don't know, maybe it's government and it actually sucks and it's trash. Did Donald Trump fly in Air Force One, or did he just go, I'm going to stick with my Trump jet? I seem to recall that he did Air Force One. But it's interesting to me that the government gets to impede on the political process here and saying that we are unable to keep you safe, and so you can't run outdoor rallies anymore. Now, as to whether or not Trump just goes, hey, figure it out, I'm going outdoors, and, don't have me killed, we'll see. This was RFK Jr. bringing up, as the Democrats have to figure out a winning strategy for running against Donald Trump. I think we're going to hear more of the Trump's a Nazi, shame on you for supporting this person that will be the end of our democracy. He refused to leave after January 6th. we couldn't prove it, but he's actually secretly a Russian asset, and he's just not a nice guy. He's a mean person. It ruins the dignity of our office to have a mean person in there. It makes us look better to the world when we got a guy with dementia who has to drop out of the race because we lied about his dementia the entire time. That's what makes us look better to the rest of the world. When it comes to showing the might of the United States, we can't have this mean, evil negotiator with tariffs. What we need is an old man with dementia who needs to be recalled when we finally actually see him not in front of a favorable news anchor or with a teleprompter. That's what's going to restore the dignity and the might of the United States government. But here is RFK Jr. picking up and playing a winning hand and calling out Donald Trump for seemingly, I guess, trying to win over the banking industry and talking about putting the head of BlackRock and the head of JP Morgan into his cabinet. I don't even know if those guys would be interested in that position. They're already running the government from their nice fancy offices, making $24 million plus a year. But here is RFK Jr. claiming that Donald Trump is looking to, I guess, basically side with the banking industry and take some of the banking big guns and put them into his cabinet, which is also interesting because it seemed like there had been a switch from prior administrations of the Goldman Sachs to government, like with Treasury Paulson, to people from BlackRock in the Biden administration. I don't remember specific names. But anyways, I thought this was interesting. Let's give it a listen.
So I said that he was not, that his deterioration made it clear was not going to improve, and that it made it clear that he could not run the country. I think the Democrats really need to do what President Obama said, which is to have an open process, a genuinely open process. So much of the primary process was rigged. The country knows that. It's rigged to benefit the corporate elites. And I think the Democratic Party really needs to distinguish itself from the Republican Party. President Trump announced yesterday that Jamie Dimon is his choice for Commerce Secretary, and that Larry Fink is his choice, who's the head of BlackRock, is his choice for the Treasury Secretary. And I think the Democrats really have an opportunity now to distinguish themselves as the party of the American middle class, as the party that cares about working people, that cares about the deficit, that cares about the chronic disease epidemic that is.
Good points by RFK. And you know what? As we try and figure out who should be the next president, I'd like to give my stamp of approval and the endorsement to the New Jersey man arrested after ripping Siegel's head off when it tried to swipe fries from his daughter. That's the kind of aggression we need. They're trying to shame a man. Siegel comes for your daughter's French fries, and you rip off its head clean in front of your daughter to let her know, hey, I will always be here for you. I will always support you and make sure that you're safe, and no Siegel's ever going to come and attack you. That's if we're trying to figure out a strong president, where's that guy and how come he's not part of our political process? All right, let's take a couple of seconds. You know what? Before we do this, I've yet to plug porchtour.com. I see there's 404 people watching this live right now, and every single one of you watching live, 405 people, porchtour.com. Figure out a porch and come hang. This past weekend was absolutely incredible. We did Philly, and respect to the audience for protesting that I did an indoor venue. That was the smallest show. I was in a major city at a great brewery, and the audience protested, and they did not come out en masse. We still had a very fun time, though. That was a fun show. And then we went to West Virginia, out into the middle of could not be the more middle of nowhere. I turned off a road in the middle of nowhere to a gravel road that led to another gravel road that led to a worse gravel road that then led to me apparently putting out the wrong address for Porch Tour. And then luckily I was before the fans who started showing up, and we blocked this road with like 15 cars that showed up behind me trying to figure out which house we were actually supposed to be going to. We solved that. It was just down the road. Guy shows up on his 4x4, led the Porch Tour parade through the deep woods of West Virginia, and we had a backyards banger that I wish I hadn't been driving on that one, because if there was ever an evening in your life to get loaded up on moonshine, it was on the backwoods of West Virginia, and then we were outside of Cleveland. You had about 65 people or so that showed up for that one. That one was cool. I was on the actual Porch. It was basically in the round. This was a incredible weekend of Porch Tour action. I did these ones with my friend Chris Warren, and now this weekend we will be in Memphis. I'll be back in Bon Aqua, Tennessee. That's going to be one of the few live podcasts that we're going to be doing over Porch Tour. And then I think the following weekend I've got California with Brian McWilliams, and we've got Hawthorne, we've got Santa Barbara, we've got Agawangas, and then I've got another run in the South where we're going to be doing Birmingham, Alabama. Last year that was an excellent show. Good cookies from the guys' living room because it rained on us. That was a good time. And then I'm going to be back in Atlanta. I finally got an Atlanta venue secured. And then Savannah, Georgia. And then more Porch Tour coming at you, including I finally was able to successfully negotiate with my friend Max, potentially doing another Porch Tour from the original Porch Tour spot, the private bar. I've been hanging out there all summer. Even though it wasn't clear whether or not we were going to be porch touring from there, I've invited myself over every single time I've crisscrossed the country. I've been eating his wife's delicious sourdough breads and getting hammered at that bar late at night. And it's literally the middle of nowhere in Maryland. But if you guys want to make the trip, that will be loaded with comics, and that's always a banger of a time, porchtour.com. Come hang out on the porch. All right, I'm only going to play a little bit of this because it's already old news. The lady from the Secret Service resigned. Hopefully they do more of an investigation and we quit pretending like this was just stupidity, which maybe it was. I'm going to play in a little bit the Secret Service guy who steps onto the roof, overlooks the shooter, and is grilling the cops about what happened, and he sounds like me when I'm looking in the hood of my car and I have no idea what the hell is going on. Doesn't seem to be all that urgent of a situation. Everyone seems to be pretty relaxed, and it's like me just trying to take stock. Or wait, so that hose would connect to this hose? And what did you say that thing was? Anyways, this lady showed up, and we've already played it. She went to the Fauci School of Lying, the Myocarditis School of Lying. We did nothing wrong because it was the decisions that we made. It was the right decision when we made the decision. I'm here to answer all of your questions. I can't answer that specific question. I don't have the specifics on that, but I'm obviously going to answer all your questions. I'm going to try and make this process as easy as possible. Don't worry, even though I messed this one up, the agency's in good hands because I'm here. It's my desire to be fully, I can't answer any of your questions, but it's my desire to be fully transparent. So we're going to play a little bit from some of these random clips where she got grilled across the board by everybody. Didn't handle any of it particularly well. Just sat there, lied through her teeth. I'm here to be as helpful. I can't be helpful on that one, but I'm here to be helpful. It's my desire to be helpful. And then we can watch when someone really had her dead to rights, talking about the bullet casings, and which leads to the conspiracy that maybe there was more than one shooter. All right.
Chair, now recognize Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, were you guessing or lying? The day after President Trump is shot, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said, quote, the assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false. The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said that is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any request for additional security measures that were rebuffed. But 5 days later, the Washington Post said this: top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel. The next day, the New York Times said this: Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down some requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail. So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
Neither, sir, and I appreciate the question.
Well, what were you doing? Because those statements don't jive.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much, they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, Mr. Guglielmi, you're...
pretty fun lies. So first is, well, we didn't turn them down that day. Sure, every single event beforehand, we turned them down. And when we turned them down, we weren't really turning them down. Sure, we weren't giving them the personnel that they needed, but, we make the decisions about what they require, and we made other adjustments so that they would have the security that they needed. And sure, what we thought was the security that they needed turned out not to be enough, but it was still correct when we made the decision. And to say that we didn't do our part is simply inaccurate.
Spokesperson, he said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some.
We can jump ahead to the next
I think
person.
From every
Actually, you guys have all seen this, so why not just play, I think, what was the best conversation of all of them. Let's give it a listen.
As soon as I was notified.
And how long was that?
About this hearing.
Okay, 4 days?
I began preparing.
4 days, 3 days?
I'm not sure the date that I got the letter asking me to be here.
What are you sure of? Are you sure the color of your hair? Are you sure the color of your suit? I'm just, tell the American people, what are you sure of? You don't even know when you started preparing for the hearing? I mean, the biggest hearing of your life, and you have no clue? You can't remember when you started preparing for this hearing? Can you understand why those words seem hollow to the American people who are supposed to entrust their faith in you?
I assure you, the moment I received notification.
But you can't remember. You got a little Alzheimer's, dementia going? I mean, what, you can't remember.
I have.
It's fun. Sometimes you need bitchy questions to handle this kind of a situation. Go, wait. I mean, this only happened a couple days ago. You can't even remember when you were notified? Let's continue.
Several active investigations going on and an operational agency to run.
Okay. All right. But you want to take accountability, right? The buck stops with you, right?
I am taking accountability.
Super. Then let's start with trying to answer some questions. You keep referring to the FBI. When asked how many shell casings were on the roof, you referred to the FBI. When asked if there were explosives in the car, you referred to the FBI. When asked if Crooks was acting alone, you referred to the FBI. See a common theme here? I can go on and on. My question is, who at the FBI should I speak with? Wait for it. Wait for it.
The FBI is responsible for the criminal
investigation. Is there a name?
I'm not certain.
I'm not certain. All right, here we go. I'm not certain. I don't know. Let me ask a different question. Have you been in communication with the FBI?
Yes, I have.
With whom?
I speak with the director and the deputy director.
Okay. And what have they shared with you about this investigation? So I'll give you an opportunity to answer again. Did they share with you how many shell casings were on the roof?
They have shared with me the evidence.
Did they share with you how many shell casing were on the roof?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to pause for a second and go, whoever's mom that is, that's got to be a rough one when you come home for a party and you're just like, yeah, I was out with friends. No, my eyes aren't red. I mean, that's a tough lawyer lady. Kudos. I've never seen this lady before, but of all the footage I watched, she definitely had the best line of questions of really sitting in the pocket and grilling and holding her accountable. But it is brutal. As Junior in the comments has said, let's continue.
Okay, how many were there?
I would refer to the FBI for
how many were there
and their information that they need to share.
Try cheating on this lady.
As soon as I was notified.
Oh shit! Why did I rewind?
About this hearing.
Okay, 4 days. When you started preparing for this
investigations going on and an operation.
Then let's start with trying to answer some questions. You referred to the FBI. When asked.
Sorry, I didn't mean to rewind there.
My question is, who at the FBI? All right, here we go. I'm not certain. I don't know.
I'll continue.
Let me ask a different question. Have you been in communication with the FBI?
Yes, I have.
With whom?
I speak with the director and the deputy director.
Okay. And what have they shared with you about this investigation? So I'll give you an opportunity to answer again. Did they share with you how many shell casings were on the roof?
They have shared with me the evidence.
Did they share with you how many shell casing were on the roof?
Yes.
Okay, how many were there?
I would refer to the FBI for
How many
Isn't that great?
and their information that they need to share in their investigation.
So they've shared the information with you. You just don't want to share the information with us, correct?
We have concurrent investigations that are going on.
So they have shared this information with you. You know the answer to the question. You just refuse to answer the question from the member of Congress who has subpoenaed you to be here. Is there a different answer to that question?
I was always willing to come here and testify before this oversight hearing.
Beautiful. Then let's do that. Let's for once have your actions match your words. So you've been in communication with the FBI. You know the answers and you refuse to tell us the answers. So I will ask you again. You know how many shell casings were on that roof. What is the answer to that question?
I think it's pertinent.
What is the answer to that question?
I think it's pertinent to talk to you about the information that the Secret Service has and that the Secret Service knows related
I'm
to the
asking
events
you
on
an
that day.
answer to the question.
Isn't that pretty great? Well, you have this information. You just said that you know the answer to it. So that is information that the Secret Service has. Let's continue.
If you're supposed to be in charge, if the buck stops with you, how come you can't share the answers? What are you covering up? What are you hiding, my friend?
All right, we can call it there. The best says it best. What school do these government bureaucrats go to learn how to answer questions? They all speak the same, kind of like cops. I agree. All right. Now, this was today. I didn't get to watch the entire thing, but the most recent is that Chris Wray was being grilled by, I don't even remember. I think it was Congress. It might have been the Senate, though, and I was watching some of it. This clip I thought was particularly interesting, and unlike all this other stuff, which was a full 24 hours ago, so you guys are like, that's irrelevant old news. How come you didn't go live 10 seconds after it happened? This was from today, and I thought it was the new and interesting information. Let's give it a listen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director Wray, for being here. How many shots did the shooter fire?
Well, we know that he fired at least 8 because we recovered 8 cartridges on the roof.
Okay, and are all the cartridges and the unspent bullets, have they been, you know how many there are? You've accounted for all of those? I assume, yeah.
We believe we have. Again, there was lots of work still ongoing, but yes, we believe we have accounted.
Even that's not quite a clear answer. You would think, I mean, this is physical evidence. Do the amount of bullets that you have shells for, or casings, I guess is the proper term. Honestly, not the biggest gun guy, but I think that's a pretty specific question. Did you definitely match these up, that all came from that gun? And even in this case, head of the FBI talking about physical evidence, I believe. He doesn't want to be put into a corner, I guess, of perjury on that, of giving a definitive, why is that an I believe? Shouldn't this be physical evidence, yes or no?
And did the recovered shells, the cartridges, match the shooter's rifle?
My recollection is yes.
Your recollection? I mean, this is from a couple days ago. You would have gotten this report just recently. Why is this not a definite? I wish this guy was as sharp as that lady to ask that question of why isn't this a definite? Why isn't this a yes or no? Is there any suspicion that there could have been a secondary shooter to the FBI? Well, it's a part of an ongoing investigation.
And you conducted analysis that confirms that?
Well, we work with ATF, but yes, so some of the work has been divided up. But.
And how many shells?
Doesn't this seem like a pretty simple one? I mean, even me without investigative talents to go, that gun, these bullets, this amount, all match the gun. Seems like it should be simple for some definitives.
These things were recovered from the location of the counter snipers.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part.
All right, we can call that one there. Here you go. The best. They're not confident in their ability to count government schools and all that. Yeah, there you go. And then I guess what the Secret Service really should just come forward and go, listen, we weren't trying to kill him. we're just a bunch of dumbasses. And here you have it. I guess they just came up with a really good look of the suits and the glasses. But here is the guy on the ground, wants to get the information so that he can report it back to Washington because, you know, they didn't know that this incident was going to happen. And so here he is. He's on the roof. Almost looks like Michael Fox from Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox. You know, and so here he is, recollecting, getting the information from the cops, and the cops went to the same school, so they also don't want to give straight answers. It would appear that way. It would seem that way. Well, we can't answer to that. Everyone's gone to the same school. I don't know. He may know. Hey, look at that guy. Poking at that guy. And here he is on the roof, like me, looking into my car, trying to figure out, you know, why lights are flashing at me.
All right, so if you go to that window that's open and yell for Greg, that's the sniper that sent the original pictures and seen him come from the bike and set the book back down and then lost sight of him.
Okay.
He's the one that sent the pictures out. I don't know if you got the same ones I did.
I think I did, yeah. He's like got his glasses on and he's
So we had the picture of that.
I got that.
Okay, and then this is his bike with the stuff. And our sniper seen him walking away from that, I believe.
Okay.
But he would be right inside that window. He's the one that physically seen this, sent the pictures, and called it out.
Okay, so and we have somebody detained, correct?
That I don't know.
People detained on this side. Our guy that was just up here told me that there's a guy detained who's the owner of the bike. And I said, no, that's the owner of the bike.
Yeah, basically, we've been up here, so we wouldn't know that information.
We just hold out.
We wouldn't know that information. You might have to go refer to another department, but it doesn't even look like there's that much of a slope on that roof. I mean, I'm here right now, nice and safe, comfortable, not that big of a deal.
We got over here.
All right, that I think is our episode. I think I had one more slide on just an entirely random topic. Bob Menendez to resign after corruption conviction, and this is fun. Washington Post with one of his colleagues, Senator John Fetterman, even following him around the hallways at times, yelling at him to resign, which that's got to be scary. Fetterman, just the giant monster of the Senate, yelling at you that it's time to stop down. All right, boys, that is our show. Thank you for hanging out with us. Next episode will be Saturday. And, you know, usually I'm concerned when I got live pods. Sometimes I won't even go live on Wednesday because I want to make sure that I have enough material for it. But with the kind of shenanigans that have been going on in the news, I can pretty much assure you that we will have another hour and 10 easy of all sorts of shenanigans to address live in Bon Aqua, Tennessee at the AJ Theater, as built by my good friend Andrew. So come hang out for that. It's also, guys, Bon Aqua, Tennessee. I will be there out 6 p.m. before the show grilling. He's got a big open lawn. I've been encouraging tailgating at this one for years. I'm not driving. It's going to be a drink. Well, it's going to be a light drinker because I do have the Zany shows starting the next day at 4 p.m. So I can't go too crazy. But I'm going to be at last year. You can look up the footage. I was making double hot dog sausage sandwiches. Who knows what I'm going to whip up this year? So bring your coolers with beef. I'll be working the grill. You bring your beef and I'll overburn your stuff. I don't actually know how to cook things, but we can have fun. Bring condiments, bring rolls, bring cookies. We don't even need to do the show. We can just make it a barbecue, and then I'll be like, hey, I overate. Let's drink and call it a night. But you still have to buy a ticket for the show. It will happen. We're going to have a show. Everybody, Memphis Friday, Bon Aqua's Tennessee on Saturday, opening up for Dave Smith at Zany's on Sunday, and more Porch Tour coming at you at porchtour.com. Thank you for hanging out with us. Footage from Saturday's show. Maybe I'll even get it up at Saturday because Andrew will have the best internet available. Or actually, Andrew's internet's good enough. Maybe we'll just go live. But we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Everybody, thanks for hanging out. Porchtour.com. That's the show. Sign